before we go any further, can we talk to Ross Tucker here? We do it every Tuesday. Our guy, Ross Tucker, with us to talk some NFL, some Eagles, as we look ahead to the Eagles and the Chiefs in Week 2. Ross, how you doing today?
Joe, Hugh, fantastic. How you guys doing?
Well, we're great.
Well,
NFL's
Joe's going through it a little bit.
Well, I'm not going through it. I'm just, I'm working workshopping. Let me ask you, Ross.
He's stressed out about one whole game.
See, I'm not stressed out. What I am is accepting things. Ross, I want your perspective on the Eagles passing game. And what I was saying today is I've stopped expecting it to get a whole lot better. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's kind of been a certain way since the beginning of last year, which is it rarely erupts. It's about 200 yards a game, even though they have two excellent receivers. And I think there was a feeling heading into the season maybe it would evolve and it would kind of pick up, from where they were in the Super Bowl. I've stopped expecting it. Ross, what did you think of the passing game in Game 1, and do you expect it to get a lot better?
I thought in Game 1 it was good. I thought Hurts almost played a flawless game. I thought that was one of the best games I've ever seen Hurts play. They couldn't really run it very well. And then even when he dropped back, if you watch, I know Sirianni talked about the pattern matching. They called multiple plays for A.J. Brown, and he wasn't open. A.J. did not look 100% healthy to me. And so for Hurts to only have 4 incompletions, I think, somebody wrote this down. I forget. Maybe 1 was a drop and 2 he threw away or whatever. Mm-hmm. But to me, he didn't really even have a bad pass. He did an unbelievable job running, not only getting the yards and the touchdowns, but his first 5 runs, nobody for the Cowboys tackled him. It was 2 touchdowns and 3 slides. So I thought it was honestly way up there in terms of Jalen Hurts games because he essentially willed them to that win. Now, in terms of the passing game, they did not go deep often. Clearly, the Cowboys were allowing them to complete the underneath stuff, so they hit Goddard a bunch. We saw that. But when he did have the opportunity to throw it deep to Jahan Dotson, it was perfect. It was perfect for a deep post, and they needed that. So I thought it was probably more highly encouraging, Joe, for Hurts than I would say it was for Patullo, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I guess I would have liked to have seen more open receivers. I guess we're giving the Cowboys a lot of credit. They played a lot of zone coverage, and people like Eberflus as a D coordinator. They did a good job, but I'd like to think that the Eagles, with the talent they have, would be able to get the guys more open and have more opportunities, especially down the field, than they did in this game. So I am not throwing in the towel on them having any big passing games after one game, like it sounds like you are, Joe. I would think that they will have multiple games this year where Hurts throws for over 300.
Ross Tucker with us here. Ross, what was your thought on the trade last night? I thought it was really interesting. The Eagles trade for Tank Bigsby, and it wasn't just a draft pick. Now, neither were high, but they got multiple draft picks to get another running back in here. What's your thought on why, and what do you think of the player?
Yeah, I would say that surprised me. My initial reaction was one of wondering just how long Will Shipley's out with this injury, right? I don't know that the latest is he has, maybe you guys know, I've just heard he has a rib injury. We don't know how long he's out. But them trading for Bigsby, and I have no inside info here, but to give up a 5th and a 6th round pick when Shipley did some really positive things in that game, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me unless Shipley's out for a decent amount of time to the point where they feel like they need somebody else, which does make sense if that's the case.
Ross, let's do a little overreaction or truth off of Week 1. Is it an overreaction or the truth that the Packers are as good as they looked? Because that was eye-opening. I know the Lions have 2 new coordinators and they have an adjustment period, but they took a team that won 15 games last year, and that game never felt like it was competitive.
I think it's the truth. You guys know I do power rankings every Tuesday on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and I have the Packers number 1. I have the Eagles number 2 now. I got to go by what I see. Look, I already had the Packers as like a top 5 team. And Jordan Love looked fantastic in that game. And Micah Parsons, we talked about it last week, is a true difference-making player. He was only out there for like 20-some snaps. He caused an interception. He had a sack. He got the other guys some one-on-ones. You know, all this stuff about Howie trying to trade for him and Jerry Jones didn't want to trade him in division. It's almost like, I know this was not their logic, or at least I don't think this was their logic, but I almost felt like on some level, Joe, Jerry Jones was like, you know what? We're not going to be able to beat the Eagles. We're not good enough. Let's trade them somewhere where we can give another team a chance to make it so that the Eagles don't go to the Super Bowl again. And I know that's not his logic, but it's got to be incredibly frustrating to really everybody else in the NFC, especially NFC North, you know, having to go against him now. But it's just, I to answer your question, I think that they are that good. I thought they were going to be very good coming into the year anyway. And, you know, we see it with other sports. We see it with baseball. You know, you get a guy like this right before the season starts, just the amount of confidence and good vibes that come from that, it just gives the whole organization a boost. Almost like when the Commanders realized last year that Jaden Daniels is super good, and it boosted them to having a great year. Now that you get arguably the best defensive player in football, I think it boosts the whole organization. I mean, the whole team is like, whoa, we can win this. And not only that, not only can we win this, but the GM, the owner, not the owner in the Packers, but the GM, the president, the leadership, they believe in us. They wouldn't have done this and given this guy $47 million, 2 first-round picks, unless they thought we could win the whole thing this year.
Ross, let's hit one more potential overreaction or truth, and then we'll look forward to the Chiefs and the Eagles on Sunday. Ross, is it an overreaction or the truth that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have caught Patrick Mahomes in terms of who's the best quarterback in pro football? Because the way I looked at it for years was there was a big gap. And Ross, it doesn't feel like that gap exists as much anymore, if it exists at all. How would you look at it, especially after what we just saw Sunday night?
I don't think there's a big gap, but they're going to have to beat him in the playoffs for me to say that. They're going to have to make the plays that they need to make for their team to win and beat Mahomes in the playoffs for me to say neither one of them has been able to do it. You know, Josh Allen, I lost track of how many chances he's had. I guess maybe Lamar's only had one, but that's his fault because he can't even get past, you know, the Titans back in the day or the Bills now to even get that chance. So I think regular season, Joe, you're right. They have caught him. But there's nobody that's going to pick those guys over him or their team over the Chiefs in the playoffs at this point until you actually see it with your own 2 eyes.
Ross, about a week ago, the Chiefs were a small favorite for the Week 2 matchup on the look-ahead line, about 1.5 points, and then it flipped early this week after the Eagles win, Chiefs lose, and injuries to the Chiefs wide receivers to where the Eagles are a small favorite. Ross, who should be the favorite Sunday if you were setting the line, and what's your first thought on this game, Eagles-Chiefs?
Well, I understand why the Eagles are the favorites because of the way the Chargers looked and because of the fact that I don't think they're going to have Xavier Worthy. So you're stacking, you know, their 2 best receivers are pretty clearly Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, and they're not going to have either for this game, I don't think. Well, definitely not Rice. I'd be very surprised if Xavier Worthy plays. So that's big in the NFL, man. I mean, it's one thing to be down one receiver, but to be down both. And oh, by the way, the Chargers got the better of them really up front on both sides of the ball. So I can see why the Eagles are favored, but I still don't feel good about it. I know this. I think there'll be more 1-1 teams after this week than 0-2 and 2-0 teams. And to ask the Eagles to go into Arrowhead and drop the Chiefs down to 0-2, that would be a super, super impressive win.
There's no question. I mean, they don't lose many home games. They don't lose many back-to-back games. They rarely start 0-2. So it would be a huge win for the Eagles if they can get it. They are favored. Ross, we appreciate you hopping on. We'll check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and, of course, watch you on the NFL on CBS. Thank you, Ross.
Sounds great. See you guys.
There he goes. At Ross Tucker NFL on social media.